How has producing helped your screenwriting?
I think tremendously. I think knowing what it takes to make a film is important, and I think like when we haven't gone through that process, sometimes we'll write these crazy big budget things, which is fun sometimes, but it's also like we mentioned earlier, maybe you won't want to have horses when you realize how many things go into getting a horse on set, having a trainer there. So I think producing has definitely helped my writing, and if you're writing something to try to make it yourself, or you're writing something that you know is maybe going to be low budget, I think knowing like how to produce things is important. Knowing how to get good talent, good people who want to help you but not spend a lot of money. Knowing how to look for locations that aren't going to be a ton of money. I mean, I think producing something is super, super, super vital and important to people who want to create stuff and make it on their own. I think it's such a skill to have. And also just like when you're on set, like the reality is you're going to have to cut things. You're going to have to change things. And just accepting that and figuring out, like, as a writer, like, how am I going to make this work? You know, we cut this, but can we do something cheaper? Can we do something in a room versus with a car, you know? So I think I think producing is very, very valuable. Yeah.
How does it normally work for you to go from screenwriting to producing?
With a couple of the things, I've just been fortunate to be able to raise the money or, you know an investor who wants to support something, and I've been able to produce it on my own. So I think it's just that shift of like, okay, now this is the script, but now I got to wear a different hat. Of like, I got to make this thing I got to get this thing made. There's a budget, you know. It's like I can't do all the crazy stuff in the script anymore. Like I gotta be able to shift gears. And then I think it's like, if you're able to produce things, it's just more opportunities for you. You know, meeting people, getting more projects out there, building up your credits. I think is important. Yeah, it's just another avenue, I think, of expanding your filmmaking.
What has been one of the hardest aspects of producing for you? I would imagine, I guess, raising money, or no?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's always the big elusive thing, right? And the question mark for is like, how do we get money for this? How do you find investors? How do you drum up interest for something? So I think it's tough. The onset stuff, it's its own obstacles. And then I think after the film is done, I think people sometimes underestimate the post-production process, what goes into that, how expensive that can be, how long that can be, and how many steps are that. And then you get to the other element of trying to find distribution, trying to find a home for a film, you know. Yeah, I mean that's a whole other thing, and I think each time you produce something, you learn something new. Whether you're producing short films, you're going to learn so many things, and then working your way up, you're always going to learn new things, and there's always going to be new obstacles. So yeah, like during COVID, this horror film I produced, This Land, learned so many things, and just trying to find an audience for that and get that out there is a tough obstacle too.
We don't normally hear about screenwriters going out raising money. How did this happen for you? How did this turn of events come to be?
I had some business contacts, and I had some just finding the right investor who really believes in it and wants to make a film. I mean, you never necessarily know who wants to be involved in a project. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's like taking a chance on yourself. If you have some of your own personal investments, putting that towards a film. I mean, I've done that. Yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways, but it is tough. I mean, that's a tough part is trying to find money and trying to find people who want to buy into your project.
Right, especially because it's not like putting it in a T-bill where you know you're going to get this much back.
There's definitely no guarantees in film. But I think it's having people who want to be excited and want to be a part of something and produce and knowing what their goals are too. I mean, they probably want to invest and they want to make something else after this and continue down the line.
What was the last movie that you raised money for, and are you able to tell us how you did this?
The last one that I produced was the feature I produced was the horror film during COVID, and that was having an investor who was interested, them putting some of the money up, and then honestly on that one I sold some of my own investments, put some of my own money into it, which people will advise you not to do. Don't put your own money into things, which is good advice, but sometimes it's what you got to do. And then other things producing, I think it's almost like the stock market, where you're investing in something. There might be an opportunity for you to get involved with a certain project, if they're trying to raise a certain amount of money. But the one that I would specifically would be my horror film that I produced. Yeah.
And now with these, without having to name who the people are, but are you frequenting their business? Like, how did you meet? How does one meet a potential investor? Especially because oftentimes people that have money, they're on guard, rightfully so.
Yeah.
From LA people wanting.
I think that's part of the mystery too, and I think that's connecting with other producers, or connecting with a manager or an agent who might have more of a pool of resources they can go to, or they might have their own connections finance-wise, whether it's a producer who's got a connection with a financier or a manager who knows those things. With a script I optioned a long time ago, it was a production company had some good relationships with some finance companies and financiers. So it was just literally having a list of the ones they had contacts with and sending the script out to those and seeing if they might be interested. And I think there's just so many, if you get a talented actor or an actress, that might bring interest, that might bring a certain amount of money to a project.
Absolutely.
And as far as meeting people, that's its own thing. I think just always networking. You never know what doors are going to open. I met my one of my best friends and a filmmaker that I work with a lot. I met him at a pitching a script idea. They liked it a lot. The production company they were at the time optioned it, and we stayed in touch since then. One of my long-term directors who I work with, we just started out as friends, and just kind of working your way up with people.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't have a great answer for finding
hunting down the
money.
No.
I wish I did.
Okay. It's a hard question to answer, and I get it. You have to kind of build a body of work, and people have to see that you're reliable.
Yeah.
You can't just go to someone brand new with 5 shorts under your belt and say, you're going to love this idea, and can I have $1 million? So maybe you can.
Ideally that would work out, right? I mean, there's
Right.
one of those every year, that short film that really connects and people really connect with it, and that career takes off. That just hasn't been my personal experience.
Right. And when you have used your own money, is there something that you tell yourself, like, I may never see this again, and I'm okay with that?
Yes, it's that.
Yeah.
It's that. Like you were saying, it's like it's not like you're not buying into a bond, or you're not buying into a stock market. Rough right now, but overall, you're not buying into something that might give you a percentage over time. It's a lot of risk. So I think it's accepting that, and I think it's accepting if you've got even just a little bit of money, how do you make that work? Can you make a short film for no money? I mean, people do it all the time. It's hey, we got a house, we got a location. What can we shoot here for no amount of money? So that's part of the fun of filmmaking too, is just trying to be creative when there's not always a lot of money for certain things. But if you are going to invest your own money, I think it's accepting the risk. I think it's having a goal of this is what I want this project to do for me and for my career. So I think it's just trade-offs of anything you invest in with money. Yeah, just trying to think about what will this do for my career. Where will this take me? Yeah.
Right. And again, building sort of a body of work where people that may have the money can trust you. So
absolutely. I mean, I have some director buddies who, they've got some financiers and just building a body of work with those guys where it's, you know, we've made one thing, okay, now we can do something a little bit bigger, you know. So I think it's just, yeah, it's like you said, building a body of work.
Right. What are some of the questions an investor may ask you as a filmmaker, screenwriter?
Man, I think it's like, where do you think this is, like, what is the market for this? I think is important. If as a writer you can get some attachments, whether it's an actor or an actress, or you have you know, a producer on board, I think knowing whether it's pre-sales for a project that we might be able to get this for having this name attached. This actor will bring X amount of money. I think they want to know that. I think they want to know you as a person and as a writer and as a producer, and if you can be able to get along. And I think they want to know your vision for a project. I think it's, you know, when you bring a director on too, that's important to know, like, they're going to have their own vision. But I think an investor wants to know what you want to do with the project, where are we going with this, and you know, what's my potential return.
Right, and some people invest in films as a write-off. So that's something that
absolutely, yeah, that's another thing, right? Yeah.
Right. So yeah.
Yeah. Any way you can get it. Sometimes I feel like with film investing, you know, there's so many different avenues.
Thank you for watching the video all the way to the end. Here is a complimentary question from our book Story Questions.